G'day and welcome to Beyond Sobriety, an unofficial AA podcast. This is a place where you will hear real stories of recovery and resilience. I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, your host and fellow journeyer on the road to sobriety. As someone who has walked the path of addiction and found solace in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, I understand the challenges and triumphs that come with striving for sobriety. And it's with this understanding and empathy we've created this podcast. Our purpose here at Beyond Sobriety is simple yet profound, to provide a platform where individuals can share their experience of alcoholism openly and authentically. Through candid conversation, personal narrative, and expert insights, we aim to inspire hope, foster understanding, and offer a beacon of light to those still navigating the shadows of addiction. So whether you're someone in recovery, a loved one supporting a friend or family member, or simply seeking insight into the journey of sobriety, you're in the right place. Join us as we embark on this transformative journey together. I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, and this is Beyond Sobriety. Welcome. Hello, and we're here with Roy. Roy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, friends. My name is Roy, and I am a recovering alcoholic. I have been sober since the 18th of September 1986. 38 years, 3 months, not quite 3 months, yeah. And the 18th of this month it'll be 3 months, yeah.
That's incredible. And look, we'll look into what kept you sober a little bit later, but can you describe what was the attitude towards alcohol in your family when you were a child growing up?
I was only 6 months old and I went to France. So in France they have glasses of wine with their main meal at night. And I can remember my grandfather, I asked him one day, could I have a glass of wine? So he put about 4 drops of wine in a glass and filled it up with lemonade, and I thought I was the king of the world.
How old were you then?
Probably about 3. I can't remember my grandparents ever getting drunk. I can't remember my dad ever getting drunk. My mum never used to drink wine. That's why we was in France, and then I come back here to Australia at the age of 4.5. Couldn't speak a word of English. And then my parents and myself went to New Zealand. Just before I turned 10 years of age, both my parents got killed in a car accident.
Oh gosh.
Things don't heal like that. I think daily of my parents. And I do, I miss them with all my heart. But that's the way that God wanted it, so I never had a concept of a God until the day that I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. But I came back here to Australia, and I lived with my uncle and auntie that had 14 children. I couldn't fit in with them. But my uncle that raised me, I don't think he was an alcoholic. He used to like to have a drink or two. He worked hard. He was a local bottler. And, he had 14 children plus me, and him and his wife, and I never went to bed once without a meal. I didn't know what it was like to have a pair of shoes until I went to high school. But I come back here to Australia, and I lived in a country town called Heathcote. Uncle and Auntie done the best thing that they could do, and at the age of, I think I was about 16 or something like that I had my first drink of alcohol. And it seemed to do something that nothing else could do, because I was a very lonely type of a person. I couldn't fit in with people. I used to wear glasses, and people used to call me little four-eyes, little kiwi, little frog chog. And that was the way that my life was. I became a carpenter, an apprentice carpenter at the age of 16, and that was for a 5-year full course. There was no time for anything like special allowances. You had to do the whole lot. That particular time you had to do 5 days a week, and then you had to work 4 hours on a Saturday. After completing my carpentry course, I was compelled to do the national service, even though I was at the age of 21. Everybody else done it at the age of 18. But I was compelled to do national service, and I had a choice. I could either go into the army and do 2 years national service, or else I could go to jail. And I turned and said, what is the charge that I go to jail with? They said, we don't know, we haven't made up one as to yet. So this is the way that my life started. But by the time that I went into the army, I used to like to have a drink on the weekends. I used to race cars. I've still got an Australian Speedway licence. But after I come back from Vietnam, people used to just spit us and people used to talk about us and reckon we were child killers. And so the only way that I could get rid of that pain was to drink alcohol. And I drank it to the excess. And I met a young lady, one Anzac Day it was. We went in there, we was in full uniform, and I was with three of my mates, and they turned around and says, I bet you haven't got the guts to go down and ask that one of these girls down there for their name. So I went down, introduced myself, bought them a drink, and I said to them, I said, oh yeah, by the way, I said, there's three galahs sitting up there in uniform. They reckon I wouldn't have the guts to come down here and ask one of you nice ladies for your name. And by the time I left the club, I had 4 names on a St George coaster with 4 telephone numbers. And after getting married, I married this young lady, and we were together, I don't know, for a good few years.
So was that one of the young ladies at the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so anyway, yeah. So I married this young lady, and we had 2 young children. And in 1986, anyway, yeah, so we started having a relationship. I married this young lady, we had 2 young children. And I was living with my mother-in-law because my father-in-law had passed away. And in the blackout I had many of, I tried to choke my mother-in-law. And I couldn't remember choking her. I couldn't remember going to the police station. I couldn't remember getting chucked in a cell. I couldn't remember absolutely nothing until the following day. And as I walked out the police still, the cop turned around and said to me, he said, why don't you say a prayer for yourself? And I said, why should I say a prayer for myself? I didn't do nothing wrong. He said, no, he said, normally when you try to choke people when you're young people, we'd like to give you a good fine. He said, but we're not elderly people, you mongrel, we'd rather see you go to jail. And I went home, and my late wife turned and said to me, if you want your dinner, it's nice and warm in the fridge. Don't go nowhere, I want to go and see a chamber magistrate. And she wanted to get a legal separation. Went to see a chamber magistrate, and he advised me to go to see a doctor at Caringbah Hospital. So I was talking to this doctor, and he went away, and he come back and he turned and said, there's a bed available. I said, what's this for? He said, I'll send you to a place called Langton Clinic. And I said, oh, that's no good to me. I said, I'll have to do it in a few more weeks. I said, I've got a wife, I've got children, I've got a car, I've got a job, I've got this, I've got that, And this particular doctor turned around and said to me, he said, did you think of this last night? And I said, no. And he said, well, don't think about it now. He said, if you want help, you will go to Langton Clinic. And I looked at my wife, late wife, and she turned and says, Roy, I'd advise you to go. She said, if you go, you've got a good chance of saving your marriage. If you don't go, you've got no chance. So I went to Langton Clinic, and I met that wonderful lady called Pat the Rat. And Pat the Rat is like Morticia out of the Addams Family, long black hair with a big white stripe down the middle. And her words were, what are you doing here, you effing C? And she said the actual words. And I couldn't accept that, so I had to open up my mouth. The program at Langton Clinic was for 3 weeks. I couldn't do it. I rang my late wife up one Thursday. I think I was only in there for about 18 to 20 days. And I said, you've got to get me out of this place. They are sending me insane. How do you send an alcoholic insane? It's impossible. You're already insane. So my late wife, she picked me up from the car, and we had 2 young children in the car, and I will never forget it. She turned and said, there you go, arsehole, there's another promise that you broke. She said, I'm making you one. Touch alcohol in any shape or any form. She only meant for me to drink it, not to touch it with her hands. She said, and you'll be out. And I can honestly say, from that day to this, I have not had one touch of alcohol in my mouth. Hasn't even been to my lips. In the program of coming into the Alcoholics Anonymous, I found a God of my understanding. You see, I had no concept of a God. I used to always say, if there was a God, he done nothing for me. He took my mother and my father away. He did nothing. But today, it's a total way of life. I live a free life today. I don't drink alcohol. I don't think about alcohol. And I do the suggested things that they say in Alcoholics Anonymous. I had a sponsor. He told me because I'm a carpenter, he said to me, what are they, Roy? And he pointed to the steps. And I said, they're steps. He said, what do you do with steps? And I said, you walk up and down to me. He said, my God Almighty, we've got a smart one here. He said, what's these other things on the... And he pointed to the 12 traditions. He said, what are they? I said, they're traditions. He said, take them all off the wall and put them into your life. And he said, and what's the first word of the Serenity Prayer? And I went, gurt, 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 gurt. He said, are you going to say it or not? And I said the word of God. He said, God Almighty, was it all that bloody hard to say? But from that day to this, I found the God of my understanding. I don't know who it is, what it is, how it is, why it is. All I know is something's greater than myself to make me stop drinking alcohol on a daily basis. I've also found out I was at Ramsgate one night and a little Catholic nun come down and sat down beside me, and I thought, you had to come and sit near me, didn't you, you rotten little sock? I thought she was only there just to see what we all talked about. And then the person in the chair turned around and asked this particular person to get up to talk, and she turned and said, good evening, friends. My name is Sister and I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I went, what? And after that meeting, I was talking to that lady. And she said, Roy, she said, I have tried everything in every bit of religion in this world. One of it's been able to stop me from drinking alcohol other than Alcoholics Anonymous. And you were supposed to be one of his daughters. She said, Roy, don't get mixed up with this program. She said it is a spiritual program, not a religious program. And I was talking to this lady later on in life, and I was speaking to her, and she told me that she had a boyfriend. She had red dress, red high heel shoes, lipsticks, and all the makeup that all the women wears. And she told me that she used to sneak out at night and go to all the little sleazy places that are in Sydney. And she said, I used to get pissed out of my head.
This is the nun that you're talking about?
Yeah. So, and I thought, well, if you can do that and still have some religion, some faith in a God, why can't I? And in the period of time that I've been in this program, I've had a spiritual awakening. I was away with my family one time. In 1995, I'd taken a redundancy from my job after 28 and a half years, and we was on our way to go to Lightning Ridge. And I was along a dirt road, and a flash come across in front of me to tell me to slow down. And as I approached the corner after slowing down, 2 semi-trailers were head on right across the road, and at 130 kilometres an hour along the dirt road, you'd have no chance of stopping. So I put that down as my spiritual awakening. But ever since the day that I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous, I've never looked backwards.
So that was about 10 years after you stopped, because you said your sobriety date is 86,
yeah.
And you said, what, 94 did you say?
95.
95, so...
Yeah,
so you were sober for 9 years before you really had that, I guess, that experience with a God of your understanding.
Yeah.
Is that how you put it?
Yeah.
Can I go back a bit? I want to touch on where you went. So your wife was filing for divorce, and you said that you went to, it was like a rehab. Was it a rehab, or was that like an AA
rehab
program?
Yeah, Lincoln Clinic.
Lincoln Clinic.
It was the first base of going to Alcoholics Anonymous. It was giving you the backstops to show you that the disease of alcoholism is a deadly disease.
Yeah.
And this lady, she was a counsellor. She knew exactly how to treat people that were sick, you know. And she didn't penny pussy around. It wasn't none of this idea, well, Roy, you're a very poor little boy. It was get off your rear end and do what you had to do.
It's very much tough love, which I think is probably quintessential of the time period. Your story is tragic. You lost your parents at a very young age. You went to war again at a very young age. You experienced horrific things, probably suffering from PTSD. And then you get seen and labelled as an alcoholic, and you go, well, you know, back at that time, there wasn't any support or help for people coming out. And as you said, when you got home, people were labelling you as, you know, people who killed children and did horrific things, and it wasn't your choice to go to war.
This is the way that life is, you know. We had a Prime Minister turn around and said that life wasn't meant to be easy. Life's not meant to be easy, you know. We've got to have wars. There's wars going on today, you know. But people say to me, I know, you poor boy, Roy, but I wasn't the only person that went to Vietnam.
No, that's true.
You know? We lost 522 soldiers, and they were all my brothers. I suffer from PTSD or whatever they call it. And at the present moment, I'm getting professional help. I'm getting the help that I need today for my disease, a PTSD or whatever they call post-disorder, I don't know, whatever it is. And the guy that I'm doing it with was in my unit. He was an 18-year-old. And his parents told him, said to him that when he come out from overseas, do something with your life. So he went to university to become a psychologist. And he mainly does people with war stories. And I said to this bloke, I said, how much an hour is this bloke? He said, I can't charge my brother nothing. So I contact him every 8 to 10 days on the phone, and we have a half-hour conversation. It helps me a lot with my disease. But I've accepted the thing today that I've got this disease, whatever they call it. But I'm not the only one that suffers. You know, people say to me, and it's only been in the last 2 or 3 years, people say, thanks for your service. And I say, no, don't thank me for my service. Go to a cenotaph and thank God that never returned. People say that it's an easy program. Yeah, it is. It's an easy program. Easy to stop drinking. And the hard part of the show is you've got to live and live without the alcohol. I haven't had it easy during the period of time that I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've lost my uncle, I've lost my auntie, I've lost 2 of her sons, I've lost 2 of their daughters, I've lost half brother-in-laws, I've even lost my wife. No matter whatever happens to me today, I do not drink alcohol. I don't think of it, I don't want it, and I don't need it. But today I can put it all down as an experience, and I live day by day. I read a daily reflection book daily. I hand my will and my life over to the care of a God of my understanding in the mornings, and I ask him just for the power not to drink alcohol today and to help some other alcoholic on a daily basis.
So can I ask, when you were you drinking daily? Or was it more of a weekend thing? Or
Well, in my trade, I worked for Sydney Electricity for 28 years, and it was a type of a thing that you was outside. But I used to drink daily, but I didn't ever think that it was a problem. Like, you know, everybody goes to the pub. You're working out in the sun, so you work hard. You work hard, you party hard, you drink hard. So I had no guidance to say that what I was doing was wrong, but also too we didn't know anything about it. You know, people used to always, there used to be ads on the TV when the TVs come out that there was drinking beer, smoking cigarettes. You know, you show a kid something of these things today and they go and do it. They brought out mobile phones. Every kid's got a mobile phone. We don't allow cigarette ads on TV. One of the best things out. I used to smoke. I don't smoke. I've got 2 granddaughters. The oldest one's 16. I stopped smoking 2 months right to the day after she was born. You know, one of the best things, another best thing that I've done in my life was to stop smoking. I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking. I've got a daughter that's just turned 43 years of age. And because with the AA, some of these groups, they give you coins. I call it a coin for every year of service. And my daughter turned and said to me just recently, she said, Dad, where's all your coins? I said, love, I've had to give them back because that's why they're made round.
I like that.
That's exactly why we've got them. So I used to get a new one and give back the old one. In my pocket, I've got 3 coins. And the reason I carry them is with my money in a little bag, my sponsor used to carry 3 in his pocket, and as he was walking, he'd rattle them. And I'd say, what's wrong with you? And he'd say, 3 coins. What was it like? What happened? And what is it like today? I went to one of the offices just recently, and I had to purchase all the other coins. I've got 38 of them.
You've spoken a bit about heartache and a lot of very harrowing stuff. What's some of your high points in sobriety? What can you look back on and say, I have achieved this because I was able to put down the drink?
Well, since I've been sober, I've achieved a lot. The biggest thing that I ever achieved was that it's got in my understanding. Because before I come in, I had no concept. Today I have, so I put that down as a good achievement. In the period of time that I've been sober, I've been able to raise a family. I've got 2 children, they're both university degrees, and I was lucky enough to be able to keep a job and have a decent wage to come in so I could pay for their university hexes, their fees. I've clothed them. I dedicated a lot of time to my late wife. Once our children got to the age of 16, 18 and they started wandering off, and my daughter left home at the age of 20, and then she was engaged and she went in and moved in with a fiance then, and I've been able to help them through life. I gave them a dollar-to-dollar basis on deposit of a house. My son's a different total kettle of fish. I gave him a lot of money. When I say a lot of money, I gave him a good amount. But because of his borderline depression, he smokes marijuana, and $200,000 didn't last him 2 years. I gave my daughter $200,000 when I retired from work, because after I left the council, I went interstate truck driving. So I was earning good money. I was away all the time, but But my late wife and I, we've done cruises. We've been to America. For our honeymoon, we went to Honolulu. We went back to Honolulu for our 41st wedding anniversary. I've achieved a lot. I've managed to own an own house, and I've lost the house, and I got grandchildren today that I could look up to, and they're just the things that I've achieved since I've been in sobriety is just unquestionable. My health today is not the best, but I've lived a happy, healthy 38 years of my life. That I have respect. I have respect for myself today. I don't have to walk down the street and look at all the pebbles. I can walk down the street and I hold my head up high. And I love the idea of helping other people. I've sponsored a lot of people. And at the present moment, I'm sponsoring a female. For any male, don't sponsor a female. The main purpose is because you can't talk to a female like a male talks to a male. That's totally different. There's words that you can't use. But that's the way the life is. This lady wanted me as a sponsor, and I said no, and she ended up making me a sponsor. And I can hold my head up high and tell her, I said, well, I'm helping her through the steps. She's got 2 children. She's got a 23-year-old child, and I've met her in face-to-face. She hasn't got no grandparents, in the first time when she seen me, she said, because you helped my mum back on the life, Roy, you're my adopted grandpop. I went, hey, well, hang on a minute. But, this is the way that life is, I've achieved a lot in sobriety. It's hard to put into words exactly what I've achieved, I live a normal, everyday life, I live in as everybody knows, that I live in a 2-bedroom granny flat. I helped my daughter buy, and my daughter's turned and said to me, that house is yours. What a way to live, I went on Friday to a Catholic school, because my granddaughters go to a Catholic school, St. Pat's Girls' College, and they got awards, and the 2 granddaughters turned and says, this is my pop, and he's the greatest person on earth. It gives me great pleasure. People around this area where I live, all the children all call me Pop. And if nobody sees the lady at the front of my place, if she doesn't hear me or see me once a day, she comes knocking on my door. I've got love that I've never ever thought I'd have. But Alcoholics Anonymous, when I first came into this program, I was beat. But people gave me all the love and all the care and all the hope. And the only way that I can show an appreciation is I do meetings on a regular basis. I help people to the best of my abilities. I put the steps into my life. I use the 12 traditions daily. There are 12 promises. I've done every one of the promises, and every one of those promises have come true for me. And I say to people, you don't have to be a mathematician to work out that it was the first drink that causes all your problems. If I don't have the first drink, I can't get drunk. It's the way that my life is today.
So you've spoken about the steps and stuff like that. So how many times would you say you've gone through the steps? Multiple? Once? Several?
Oh, I've gone right through the steps more times than I can count. I've got a big book here. I have not read the big book from cover to cover.
No, really?
I open up the big book daily.
Yep.
And I open it up on that page.
Which one?
Whichever.
Okay.
It's not one special page.
You let the higher power decide.
Yep, that's the same as I got the book down there as Bill Wilson sees it.
Yes.
I use that daily. Open up on a daily and I read it. But see, when I first come in this program, I couldn't read and write. But I can tell you how it works from the beginning to the end.
I wanted to ask you about making amends. It's a hard step, I think, because it takes a lot. You got to really push your pride down to go to someone and ask them to forgive you for something. And you said one of your, I guess, the journey down to your rock bottom was you assaulted your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Did you make amends to her?
Yeah.
Was that the hardest one you've ever made?
Oh, that'd be a toss-up in between that and my wife.
Can you take us through both of those?
Yeah. With my mother-in-law, I was only sober, I don't know, probably 9-10 months, because I wasn't living in her house no more. And I went over there and I seen her, and we were talking, but not talking on a good base. And I said, I'd like to be able to have a little bit of a chat to you. And she was the type of a woman that she'd listen to anybody. So I just turned around and I said to her, I says, on a particular day in a blackout, I tried to choke you. And I said, but I wasn't responsible for what I was doing because I didn't know what I was doing. I said, I'd like to give you my sincerely sorriness for doing that. And she turned around and said, Roy, I forgave you the day that you walked out of the clinic. But she wrote in an envelope, one word, yes. And my mother-in-law died on the 7th of the 8th of 87. And my brother-in-law gave me an envelope at the funeral. And turned around and said, Mum asked me to give you this when she died. I opened up the thing and my late wife turned around and said to me, she said, what's that? I said, I don't know. It was a scrap of piece of paper in it about the size of my thumb with the word yes. I still got it. It's in the safe.
Wow.
That's how I kept it. But my late wife, the night she picked me up from the clinic, I turned around and I said to her, I says, I'm not going to promise nobody nothing these days. I said, because I can't keep a promise. But I said, I guarantee that I'm going to do my bloody well best not to drink alcohol on a daily basis. And thank you for the second chance of our marriage to last. 45 years, 10 months, right to the date.
What an amazing woman to overlook it. Like you see a lot of things on the internet now about women's expectations of men. They need to be earning X amount. They need to be, so tall or whatever the stupid things are. But that's real love. The fact that you go, you know what, I'm sticking with this one person despite their flaws, despite, the things that they've done wrong. And your marriage lasted longer than, most people, 46,
45 years.
45 years.
45 years and 10 months.
There you go.
Yeah, no. But no, it's a way of all life, No, I just apologise to her on a daily basis. I used to get out of bed every day. That's when I was at home. I wasn't home a lot of the times because being an interstate truck driver. But no, I used to always say to her, I do apologise for the way that I acted before I went in to link the clinic. And she used to say to me, when are you going to stop apologising? I said, the day that either you die or the day that I die. And that's the way that we carried on. But no, she forgave me, and I started to step forward, and I don't look back. I don't say to people, you've got to do things. When I first came into this program, my sponsor turned around and said to me, Roy, I'd love to be your sponsor. Because there's no bosses in Alcoholics Anonymous. He said, but we suggest you. And I thought, what a nice way of telling Roy that he have to do it. We suggest. And there's a lot of difference, and it's the way that you put a word. But this is the way that my life is today. I'm 79 years of age. My health's not 100%, but I hand my will and my life over to care of a God, and I know that He's not going to give me for anything that I can't handle. I handled a fair bit since I've been in AA. My daughter got married while I was in AA, and I bought 12 bottles of French top champagne. She's been married for 21 years.
Wow.
And I didn't have one mouthful.
It's amazing how you can go from a dependency on something and need it all the time, turning my back on that, and then you can even actively buy it for other people and go, no, it's fine for you. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to have a drop or a mouthful.
Yeah, no.
What do you attribute 38 years of sobriety to? What kept you in the program? What kept you coming back, as we say?
Well, I suppose I come back. I've got to show people the appreciation of the love and the care that I was given when I first came into this room. I said to a lady one night at Ramsgate, I used to go to Ramsgate every Thursday after I come out of Lincoln Clinic. I used to pick people up from Lincoln Clinic and take them through to Ramsgate so they could have the meeting. And there was a lady there by the name of Olga. And I said to her one night, I said, I've got a feeling inside my guts that one mouthful of alcohol and it'll kill me. And she said to me, Roy, keep it. Guess what? I still got a feeling in my guts today. One mouthful of alcohol and I can die. I think the main thing that I kept on coming back to Alcoholics Anonymous is because they showed me an absolute different way and a more wonderful way of living a life. Yeah. As I said earlier, putting down a drink was the easy part. The hard part was living. You had to live without the false pride of alcohol behind you.
Yeah.
But, acceptance. I accepted the fact that I was an alcoholic. And I accepted the fact that I couldn't drink no more alcohol. And then I didn't make a promise. I just said to my late wife, I will try my damn hardest not to drink alcohol on a daily basis. So I was given a second chance in my marriage, and I kept to the word, I couldn't keep a promise, and my late wife, she used to like to have a glass of wine with the daughter. Let them have it. I'm going to a Christmas dinner on Boxing Day this year. My son-in-law will have a bottle of beer, one of these twist tops. Might have two, I don't know. Everybody else will be drinking. Roy won't be drinking.
That's it.
I'll have the kids' soft drink. Not that I have much of that, but no. I think it was just the respect and the help and the love and the care that people gave me in the early days, because we used to do meetings before meetings, do the meetings, and then after the meetings. And I do a meeting now on the Sunday morning, and we do exactly the same. We have a meeting in the morning, then we have a meeting, and after that we go back and we have another meeting. We have breakfast. But so this is the good thing about this life. It showed me a total different way of life. And while I'm living something that I dream of, it's quite easy. And I forget what it was like to be a practicing alcoholic. I hear of people having breaks or having a relapse, and I say to them, thank God it was them, not me, because I wouldn't even show my face. No, I've got no idea in a million years of even... I never say the word of never. But I live a day at a time, and I only live until midnight tonight. And then once that time's come, it goes into another day. And if I keep on thinking the way that I'm thinking at the present moment, there is no chance of me picking up a drink. I've been to a lot of barbecues, I've been to a lot of birthday parties, and I'm the worst person in the world to have around alcohol. I went to my sister-in-law's 50th birthday not long after I come out of Lincoln Clinic, and my brother-in-law turned and said, he said, we'll make Roy the barman because his wife won't let him drink alcohol. It won't let him have a beer no more. And I turned and said to him, I said, well, why don't you shut your face? So he turned around and says, Roy, I said, what? He said, would you go into the fridge and get me a couple of slabs? And it was in May, which was cold, so they had fires all going. Where would you like me to put them? Anywhere you like, Roy. So I put them in the fire. And the words that come out of their mouth wasn't very polite. I said, well, don't keep having to go at me about alcohol. My wife will let me have alcohol if she wants to, and so will I. I said, but I don't require to have a drink today.
Yeah.
I go to the club up here sometimes, very, very rare. I went up there a few years ago on Anzac Day because they put on the phones, if anybody's return service person, could they please wear their medals? So I wore my medals up, and the secretary manager up at the bowling club here is a female. And she says, I didn't know you was a return service person, Roy. I said, what, do I have to tell everybody? She said, could I buy you a beer? I said, no, thanks. I don't drink alcohol. Could I buy you a soft drink? No, thank you. Could I get you a glass of water? No, thank you. What do you do if you get thirsty? I said, I go and buy my own drink. I don't trust people.
Yeah. That's a good
I
point.
don't trust people.
No.
I don't even let people pour it.
No.
I want to know if I go up here to the club and I ask for a can of Pepsi Max.
Yeah.
And they go to open it, I say no. And they look at me. I say, I open it.
Yeah.
I don't trust people.
It's not worth it.
This is my life. I'm playing with my life.
Yeah.
As a lot of people know, is that I've been through a lot in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, I've been to 21 funerals.
Wow.
About 12 or 13 of them, all members of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mm.
You know, I've had my part of my family all pass away, and you know, they have wakes and everything, and they say, do you want a drink, boy? No, thanks. They say, but I'll get you a Coke. No, thanks. I don't trust nobody.
No.
See, I was only in this program for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was at a Christmas do. And the person that ran it was a doctor. He was sitting next to him, my late wife. I was sitting opposite my late wife, and I was sitting near to his wife. I was trying to chat his missus up. Turns around and says, what does Roy drink? He hasn't changed his attitude all night. And Leon turned around and says, Roy's just come out of a detox unit for alcohol. Oh. He went over to the bar. He ordered a double scotch and water. I walked behind him and asked for a schooner of orchard and put a nip of vodka in it. And come back, and when it was, I said to my late wife, who bought that? She said, Dr. So-and-so. I flew across the table. I had him by the jugular veins within 30 seconds. I had him out on the dance floor. I was going to rip him apart. The secretary manager come running out, what's going on? So I told him. He said, you are joking. He said, you're paying for this. He says, open up your checkbook, sign it, leave an open check, and get out of this room before I let him go.
Mm.
Because he could sue you, he could sue the club, he could sue me, he could sue the person that served. He said, because what you asked for was an illegal drink.
Yeah.
So I don't trust people.
No, fair enough.
I trust my daughter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust my son. I trust my 2 granddaughters, and I wouldn't trust my son-in-law.
Yeah.
But my son-in-law is the nicest guy outside of my daughter. He thinks the world of me, and he'll say to people, don't offer Roy a drink. He doesn't drink alcohol. And don't ask him to open up a drink because he won't open it up for you.
Mm.
That's me. You know? I'm lucky. I've got a house full of everything. You name it, I've got it. My daughter turned and said to me a few days ago, what do you want for Christmas, Dad? And I says, just you and the family to be together.
Yeah. What an incredible blessing after almost losing it all. And you were able to overcome that. And that's incredible.
This is what they call acceptance. You've got to accept it. Look, when I first came in this program, they turned around and told me to get the first step in the 3rd tradition. If I can't get the first step in the 3rd tradition, don't worry about doing nothing else in the program, because they're the main 2 parts of the program. And if you can't get the first step in the 2 sections and marry them,
yeah,
it's no use. I can admit that I'm powerless over alcohol and not accept that can't manage my own life. So I've got to accept all that. Once you do that, and you've got to change your attitude too. You know, my attitude used to be, I'm all right, Jack. I'm not worrying about you. Today I don't worry about you. I worry about people.
Yeah.
You know, I love the idea of helping people today. You know, I don't know how many numbers I got on my phone. I've sponsored a heap of people. I say to people, you want my number? Here it is. If you want to pick up a drink, pick up a phone.
Yeah.
And I talk to you. But if you pick up a drink, then pick up the phone, I won't talk to you. I'll tell you to go to sleep, have a sleep, go to sleep, wake up, then ring me when you're sober in the morning.
Yeah.
I hate drunks.
No, that's fair.
And that's the way that I live my life. I don't criticise people that goes out and has a drink. I don't criticise people that gamble. I gamble.
Yeah.
I might go to the club. I went to the club. I've been up to the club once since May.
Yes.
I go up to Turkley. I got a mate that's in AA. He goes to Turkley. Can't Roy will play the pokies. And I lost $50. I turned and said, he just kept on saying, another five. And I went, this is bloody rubbish. I said, hey, wait a minute. I'd rather give it to my grandkids. I'd rather give it to my daughter. I don't care. But but the whole spirit section of this part of Alcoholics Anonymous is accepting the fact that you can't do it.
Yes.
And you can do anything you want to do, providing you do it the right way.
Absolutely.
And as long as you do the steps, do meetings. I've never heard of anybody yet that's busted and come back and turned and said, I've done too many meetings. I can honestly say here, yesterday I done 4 meetings.
Yeah.
I done a 7 o'clock one face to face. I did a 1:30 at Seven Hills. And then I did a 5 o'clock with Fresh Air Fred at Rewsbury. And then I did a face to face at Sunbury in Victoria, 7 o'clock.
Busy man.
How else do I show the appreciation of the love and the care and the help that I've been given? It's easy to say, thanks a lot. Here's my backside, come and kiss it. But that's not going to help somebody else. The idea of this program is that when you get sober, you can help other people. And while I breathe, I can help other people. And I say to people say to me, when do you reckon you would get this program, Roy? I'll say 48 seconds after I take my last breath. Because then I can say, well, I boot alcohol. Until then, that's the way it is.
That's it. Look, I think we'll finish it up there. We normally end up by saying there's Serenity Prayer together. But firstly, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was amazing to hear and actually sit down with you on a one-on-one basis. So why don't we say it together?
Yep. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the differences.
Thanks a lot, Roy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us here today on Beyond Sobriety. Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a gentle reminder. If you happen to recognise anyone who shared their story on this podcast, I urge you to respect their anonymity and privacy. Let's create a safe space where individuals can feel empowered to share their experiences without fear of judgment or disclosure. If you found today's episode helpful or inspiring, I encourage you to share Beyond Sobriety with someone who might benefit from it. Together, we can spread awareness, support, and hope to those still struggling with alcohol addiction. Remember, your feedback is invaluable to us. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or stories you'd like to share, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on anonymousaa01011990@gmail.com. Thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, stay strong, stay sober, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'm Michael, and I'm an alcoholic.